Alrighty, people. We've got another episode of Fully Corked here this week. We've got a good episode coming up, I hope. This is Charlie, joined by my co-host, as always, John.
Yo.
And today we will be tasting a Syrah from Washington State. We'll get into that. And just a disclaimer, I know people are very excited about the blind taste testing and both of us offering our thoughts, but unfortunately today I have opted out of organized drinking due to it is marathon week. We'll get into that a little bit later too, but I figure, if there's any time to not be drinking, it's with a couple days to the marathon. So
Yep.
John, I appreciate your flexibility on that matter, and we can get right into it.
Yeah, this will be my cross to bear. And Charlie, gonna be a little honest with you here. I've already had a few sips.
Yeah.
I'm sweating on this blind tasting. And so I have some nerves. I think the Syrah is a wine that I don't have too often.
Mhm.
And it's not one like a Pinot or a Cab where I kind of have just banked the tasting notes and I just have them.
Yeah.
Like this is one that's more challenging for me, and I also feel like, I mean, you tell me otherwise, but Syrahs don't seem to have as obvious of tasting notes.
No, absolutely not. I mean, one of the things, so when I was looking at this online, and not to spook you any more than you already are with a couple sips in, but I mean, the entire flavor profile is pretty gettable when I look at the just general Syrah summary, but specific to this bottle, I don't know if I'm like, I mean, it's not like some niche website. I'm on Vivino looking at this specific bottle this year. The flavors there, and I think they're challenging. There's some sophisticated flavors in here, so I will be very impressed if you can pull those out. And we are working off some level of inspiration. We've been trading some blind tasting Instagram videos with one another, and maybe we'll put that on the IG story if we see one that's truly inspiring. But the thing that's great about them is, or that should give each of us a little bit of faith and inspiration, is these people go all in. They list a lot of flavors. They're not afraid to take a risk, and more often than not, it is revealed that they are like so wrong. And so, I mean, we've had a pretty good success rate on less ambitious guessing, and so I think coming out of into next week's pod, I'll try and bring some bold takes, even if I look a fool for it. So I'm excited for you this weekend, or this week, John.
We just need to up our vocabularies. I honestly think that's half the battle of wine tasting is, can you say the right things in a timely manner?
And can you taste the right thing?
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about fruits and vegetables the other week, and we haven't had a whole lot. And I'll get into this a little bit later when we're doing week recap and things like that. But I'm going to have a good chance to add some flavors to the profile on my end this week because, one of the things people talk about is carbo loading. And so I plan on eating a lot of fruit, which is not maybe traditionally thought of as carbo loading. Like people just think about like slamming 2 pounds of pasta. But my buddy who's really like smart and good, going to have a really good finish on this marathon, was like, I'm going to be eating a lot of dates. I'm going to be eating a lot of fruit, and also like a lot of rice and pasta. But you don't have to go like the bready carb route, I suppose.
Yeah, which is the route I love to go.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not running a marathon and you are.
And I, truth be told, I'll probably go that way too, but I'm going to sneak in a little fruit, try and expand the palate. But I see you sneaking a sip there. Maybe before we go into taste, what do you see and smell in the Syrah?
I am seeing a very deep burgundy, a very dark red, thick.
Yeah.
This is tough to see through. Smelling wise, I'm getting berries. When we were chatting pre-call and I was kind of giving you a little bit of the rundown of how I was thinking about this, I actually smelled a little bit of like an earth component. It's still working its way into my brain on how I want to portray it.
Yeah.
But I'm between maybe like rocks or grass.
Yeah. No, you're on the right path. I have a number of resources pulled up, and you're going the right way. And I think, one of the big things on Syrah is just the deepness of that color. It's one of the darker red wines, or the grape produces some of the darkest red wines in the world. And again, I mean, to your point of not, this isn't, your every week, every day bottle. That's not necessarily my favorite place to go with the red. So I'm excited to see if you can pull any of the flavor notes out and kind of what you think of the bottle, as we're kind of more Cab Sauv, Pinot Noir frequenters.
Absolutely. And Charlie, before I get into it, would you mind letting the listeners know where the Syrah originated?
That is going to be the northern part of the Rhone region, which is southeastern France. Oh,
Oh, perfect. So eloquently put.
thank you. Thank you. But now, I mean, grown all over the world, as evidenced by, I mean, this is coming from Washington State, but like a few of our other bottles we've tried, I mean, really with the exception of what was it? Was it the Coy Malbec that was only in Mendoza, and
That was in Mendoza, Argentina only.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
most part. So I mean, there's quite a bit of variety pending the region it grows in. So I have both a full Syrah flavor palette, and then this bottle specifically, as I mentioned. So I'll be I've got a couple resources to grade you on here and help you along if it calls for it. But I got a lot of faith. Those early notes, I think you're on the right track.
I mean, without further ado, let's get into it. I've probably stained my teeth red sloshing this wine around trying to get some flavor notes to speak to me. So,
Hmm.
this is the culmination of all of my knowledge I've acquired through the years and through these sips.
Let's get it.
Here is your blind tasting of the Originals Syrah from the Washington State. It's great that you bring up fruit because I was at a farmer's market this past weekend and a fruit presented itself to me that I have not had in years that I'm picking up in this Syrah. So this is real, people. Like if you want to, well, unless you tell me it's not in the Syrah, but like
Oh, it's gonna be
if
in
you
there.
want to refine that palate and you want to nail your wine tastings, start eating fruit, start licking rocks,
Hmm.
maybe some grass too. I
Yeah,
mean,
be like a cow. Do like the cud thing. Just go through a field,
yeah.
start munching various, herbs and grasses, and that'll bring your palate along.
Yeah. So here we go. Charlie, I am tasting dark berries. I'm
Okay.
going to go with blackberry.
Okay.
So here's the fruit that I had at the farmer's market. I'm tasting cherries. I'm getting like a lot of
Ooh.
cherry on my palate, which I would never have told you if I
Ooh.
didn't have that
There
at the
you
farmer's
go.
market.
That's good. That's good.
What do you
That's a
think of that
great that's a
one?
great start. It's a great start. I see in the bottle specific review, it goes a little more specific. I would prompt you to guess exactly this type of cherry, but this whole this whole flavor profile is like far too in depth. It cites chocolate covered Bing cherries is one of the
No
one of
shot.
the flavor notes.
No shot. I wonder if that's the chocolate note or you know how I was telling you I was tasting an earthy note?
Mhm.
I wonder if there's chocolate in here because I sometimes get dark chocolate confused with, like, dirt.
Mhm.
Like, I think those are 2 similar flavor
Well,
notes.
John, I'm happy to tell you and the listener. I'm going to count that as that's what you were tasting, because there is a chocolate note in most Syrahs, and you got the chocolate covered Bing cherries there. So I mean, it's really in both. It's a milk chocolate per the primary
Oh,
flavors.
it is a milk chocolate, it's not dark chocolate. That surprises me. This is a sweeter wine.
Hmm.
It's not overly sweet by any means, but I mean, as the listeners can hear with, like, this flavor profile, I mean, you're getting, like, milk chocolate, chocolate-covered cherries, I don't know what else is in here, but, I mean, that's like a very rich, very sweet type flavor profile.
Certainly, it agrees the profile with the richness. I mean, very very forward wine, powerful, full body. So maybe, this could change as it gets some air in it, as well. I mean, the recommendation is to decant for at least 1 hour, which I'm
Oh,
sure which I'm
shit.
sure which I'm sure neither of us did. So
I did not do it. I stored this in direct sunlight for about 3 weeks
that's
and then just,
perfect.
consumed immediately after opening, so I can't give you the most accurate or rendition of what this wine should taste like.
So you said also blackberries.
I did say blackberries.
That is not listed, but it's close. I mean, I
Oh,
suppose, like, in the spectrum of things, there's two fruit notes. Outside of cherry, there's 2 other fruits that are listed here, and, yeah, there is one of those 2 is I mean, maybe they're both a berry. One of them I know for sure is a berry. So,
how about strawberry?
I am no let me check the other one quick. I am not seeing strawberry on the board.
God damn
I'm
it.
gonna give you one of them. This is not even one of the 2 that I mentioned, but it's just impossible. I don't even know what it is. Marionberry. You ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. Uh, yeah, so that's pretty much
We gotta
impossible.
add that to our shopping list, Charlie.
Yeah,
And a Merriam or Marion?
Marion. I'll be eating them off the vine at the, knock on wood at the finish line. Any other you have a stab maybe at any of the earthier flavors in there, anything like that? Anything else that's coming to you? Otherwise, I'm happy to kinda do the reveal.
I'm gonna take one more sip, and then I'll give you my last final parting thoughts on this blind tasting.
Okay. So one thing you picked up on too, Syrah wines from Australia, US, and South America, usually more fruit-driven characteristics, more spice, versus those that were grown France, Italy, kind of more acidic, earthy, herbaceous. So I mean, again, particularly given we don't have a ton of experience here, I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's something that's, like, planted in a garden here. Like, I'm
I like where you're headed.
here we go. This is gonna be crazy. I'm just thinking because it's dark. I don't even know if I've eaten this in my life. It just sounds right. Is there beetroot in here?
Ooh, no beetroot. I love the
No.
guess. I love the guess. Beetroot. I love it. I love it.
Alright, so you're gonna have to tell me.
So, let's see. I'm just gonna quickly the fruits, I'll start with the fruit. So, blueberry, black plum are the 2 that are kind of, like, very across all Syrahs. Those are gonna be in the flavor profile, but let me just quickly read to you the bottle specific wine description because it is out of this world hard. Wine description: it's a beautiful joyride of wet slate. They start with the mineral of wet slate, papaya seed, and chocolate covered Bing cherries, rounded out by dark fruits and spices such as damson plums, marionberry. This is where it gets real tricky. Clove, star anise, and violets. And also they mentioned, peppercorn taste. The thing that was exciting me when you were talking about the garden is one of the common tasting notes in Syrah is tobacco, and I was like, "Ooh," he said he's never eaten it in his life. I mean, that would make sense, like
Yeah. I did just smoke a stogie this past weekend, so maybe that's stuck on my palate, who knows?
so how was the trip? For those who, didn't listen to the last pod, John was taking a trip out in California,
San
right? Yeah,
Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah, yeah, I went down to San Diego. It was Father's Day, and so my dad was down there, and then it was my entire immediate family. So my mom, my 2 sisters, and my brother Andy. And dude, it was a great time. Like just really good quality family time. Have not seen my entire family together in probably years, like
Mhm.
just with schedules syncing up.
Were both your
It's probably
sisters
every
there too?
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And my little sister just graduated college. So we were celebrating her. So it was just like a really fun weekend of celebration, and a few things came out of this weekend that are, I would say, noteworthy. So one, I mean, Charlie, you know as well as anybody my rivalry in tennis with my brother.
Yep.
We stand on equal footing as far as like I would say the tennis skill level goes. I think he has some components to his game that he is better than I am, and then I have components to my game that I am better than him at. But the one thing that Andy has going for him is he is like 3 times as jacked and like 8 times as conditioned as I am. So
Yeah, that's hard to overcome.
that is hard to overcome, and when it gets to a battle of attrition, like just sheer mental will, I'm going to
What
lose.
was the weather like? Was it a oppressive sun? Like, did that play into his kind of favor?
Yeah, dude. horribly oppressive sun.
You tan a little better than him though, right?
Yeah, I burnt the shit out of myself this weekend. That's I mean, I guess another story. It happened while playing. Here, I'll just get to the story. So, I mean, and we're a tennis family. We're a pickleball family. Like my mom plays, my dad plays, and my brother and I play. And so we get super excited to go get together, go down and play pickleball. And we venture out in the heat of the day, noon, and then we end up playing almost until 2 p.m. And everybody in my family is like has a baseline level of talent. And dude, I'm not conditioned. Like I have not been training for a marathon.
Is Andy training too?
No, but I mean, just for example, he went on a light jog and he literally ran 7 miles in an hour and then went and worked out and then like played me in tennis.
Yeah,
You know,
dude,
like
he is a
the
beast.
dude is a
He is a
monster.
beast.
Yeah. So I'm out there like literally wheezing, doubled over. I'm taking multiple water breaks. I'm sitting on the couches in between games. And this is pickleball. Like you don't even run in pickleball.
Yeah.
It's like glorified ping pong. Super fun, but like not a workout, as we've discussed on previous pods.
Mhm.
I mean, it is like I can't say that now because I was literally like wheezing doubled over.
It was
But
not a workout, but it left me completely depleted.
yeah. And again, not a it's gorgeous. Literally not a cloud in the sky. But it's hot.
Mhm.
It's like probably 80. It probably feels like 150 in the
Oh,
sun,
man.
like just beating down on me. I forgot any hat, sunglasses, nothing. Like I had no protection. And so I'm out there, I'm playing, I'm doubled over, walking back, I'm wheezing, huffing and puffing. We brought my dog down to the court. He's old, he's 12.
Mhm.
Darby,
Yep.
absolute legend, but he couldn't walk back because it was so hot, and so I carried him the whole way. He's 27 pounds is his, like,
So your
playing weight.
biceps are just burning.
Yeah, I think he's, like, 40
Oh
off
my
the
god.
record, and
He hasn't had
dude,
a
my
weight cut for a fight recently. He's at his walking around weight.
so my biceps are on fire, I've got back sweat coming out, my shorts, like, it's just
Dude,
awful. It's
I would be a puddle in those conditions. That sounds very I mean, it's obviously fun, like family time, but
Yeah, but so get this, so then Andy, I mean, he might as well have fucking jogged back to our villa, like, the dude was unfazed, like, literally just on another level of conditioning, and we get back and, it's 2 p.m. I had foregone lunch in order to, be at my best for pickleball,
yeah.
but Andy's set a court time for 3 p.m.
Okay.
and it's 2 when we like end pickleball. So then we end up pushing back to 4. And I'm like, okay, so I have like 2 hours to rest, recover, etc. And then it's like our rubber match. And
Yeah.
I had beat him the last time we were there. Like, I know he wants this. I have a feeling like he probably needs this. And I, as the older brother, cannot give that
No,
to
you
him. Like
can't.
I refuse to like give him the satisfaction of beating me. I just cannot give that up.
No. Sorry, before you go to the next step, did you do anything in those 2 hours to kinda, like, recover? Like, did you hammer some food? Did you do a little cryo? Did you jump on a call with your therapist? Like, was there any level of, like, kind of additional prep you had in mind for yourself?
So it started with me getting back to the villa, and I took my shirt off and went and laid down on the cold concrete outside, like in our little patio area
Okay,
to cool
I
off.
like that.
Yeah, so that was good, I guess. So like after 10 minutes of just laying like a starfish, I get up and I have like sweat stains like one of those crime scenes down on the ground.
Yeah, sweat angel.
Yeah. And then, dude, I am so hungry. And I go and I make myself a hot dog
Oh. Oh,
and I
no,
make
dude.
myself mac and cheese for the
No!
carbo load.
I don't know about that.
Then Andy had made himself a ham and or a turkey and cheese sandwich, and he didn't wanna eat all of it, and he gave me one of his pieces, and so then I had that with chips.
Dude,
Literally within the hour leading up to my big match, I had put back a hot dog, a full box of mac and cheese, and a half sandwich and chips.
yeah, that's tough. I get the idea of fueling up. I guess where I really you're talking about a chopped up glizzy in mac and cheese, right? Or are you talking about glizzy in bun in addition to mac?
So I went no bun, but I did not chop it up. I just I just ate it straight. Dude, I don't know what it is. How fast do you think it takes to digest food?
Top of my head says 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's where my head went too. So I was like, yeah, like we can do that. And so, I finish eating by 3:15. I'm like, okay, 45 minutes it's going to be 4.
Mhm. Was there any walking? Did you walk to the court? Because I feel like okay, that I think maybe helps a little bit.
Yeah, it was like a 5-minute walk. I mean, it can't get you that
No.
far. And mind you that I haven't played in 2 months, and my brother's also been playing singles and double or maybe just doubles, but he's been playing, like, weekly. So he's in
In
playing shape
Chicago, is he,
too.
like, in a league?
Yeah. Yeah, he plays with his buddies who are all kind of, like, near or at his level. And, bro, we get out there. I was so sore hitting the ball that I was like, "You know what? You serve first, Andy." And he comes out and, we kinda it's like one of those feel out games, like, it's a little back and forth or whatever,
Mhm.
but he ends up winning the game, but it was, like, close, and in my head, I'm like, "Alright, I got this guy, like,
Yeah.
no problem, like, it's the feel out game." But, dude, then I get the serve out, and I immediately get broke,
Yeah.
like, n
Worst
no
worst
contest.
feeling, worst feeling.
And then I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be a long
Yeah.
set to get through." And usually, like, with my ill conditioning, like, I need to beat Andy
Beat him
quick,
early.
beat him early, and then just use all the mental leverage I
Ex
can get on
I
him. Like,
it's so true. I mean, that is a nightmare start. I y y
it's a nightmare start for somebody who's, like, was wheezing off a pickleball court literally 2 hours prior.
and just for your own mental state. I mean, to get broken in the first game, I mean, it's nice that he was serving first, but to know to get back to even, you need a break, and you need it sooner than later. It's not good for the nerves, it's not good for, like, having, a pretty short-term memory about points, Like, if you miss, you don't get bogged down, like, everything feels so much more you need it, and you need it now, and that's not a great place to operate from.
And Charlie, that break did not come.
Oh, no.
I
He held the rest
I
of the way?
didn't get him. I didn't get him the rest of the way, and dude, for the record, it was only getting hotter.
Mm,
We were the only people out on the courts, like, everybody else was, like, at the pool chilling, sipping margaritas. I mean, like, everybody at the entire resort
yeah.
that we were at. Like, we were the only ones out there. I had my shirt off, Andy had his shirt off.
I'm surprised a crowd didn't form with that type of show going on.
Yeah, I mean, well, nobody would have wanted to see me. I looked awful, and dude, I was sweating through my gray sweatpants shorts,
Mhm.
so I just, like, had, like, a pool of, like, swass, like, pooling back there, and then, like,
I
it
thought you
was,
were
like,
about to say, so I
wet
took off
sweat
the
too.
I thought you were about to say you took off the shorts to, like,
Dude,
stay
I was
mobile.
so close. I was so close to just playing, like, directly in my boxers, and I honestly, bro, anything to, like, try to get a point going, and meanwhile, the sun is beating down even more, like, I see my body getting, like, red. I'm just burning.
Yeah.
I'm just burning up, and ultimately, the first game, I lose 3-6,
Yep.
and I'm just, like, grasping for anything. Dude, I'm, like, doubled over, and fucking Andy, in between points, as I'm, like, doubled over, like, waiting to, like, catch my breath, he's doing
Yeah,
push-ups,
I knew that was coming.
and he's looking at me while
Dude.
doing it, and then he's like, "You see me doing those push-ups?" I was like,
Yeah, it's hard to miss. You're the only other guy out here. Dude, the thing about it is so me and Andy come from the same school of philosophy in that we're both little brothers. And so that's absolutely something I'd be doing if I was so you were saying the key to this match is to get ahead and leverage the mental warfare. It's the
"Yes."
same for a little brother, it's just a different way of doing it. And it's mostly like being an irritant and a douche. And so
Yeah.
and just really try and belittle the ego. Got a lot of experience with that with my elder brother.
Yep.
It's hard to hear because I root for you in this battle, but Andy, man,
You're
he's a
kinda team little brother,
yeah.
aren't you?
It's it's where I come from.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so, I mean, I won't belabor that story, but he went on to beat me 6-3, 6-0.
Oh my man.
My will was
Oh no.
smooshed in that second one. Dude, I can't even express how hot it was. Like, my shorts were drenched by the time I was done. Like, I had drank about 6 bottles of water. I was like I might have been sweating because of, like, the hot dog and, like, the amount of meat and, like, mac and cheese I consumed before
No.
this. I might have been sweating because of the sun. I come back and I am burnt to a crisp. Like, you should see the back of my neck right now. It's, like, wilted. It's so burnt.
I've been there in the recent past. I got one question, and just in the interest of time, I know you got a flight coming up. What did Andy do when you guys got back? Because I know what I would do as the little brother. I think what I would do is go in and say to the family, "Oh, that was tough. That was a tough one," and try and make it seem like my brother had beaten me, and then they go ask you how'd it go, expecting you to be like, I won. And then, they're surprised that you have to admit you got your ass kicked. That's maybe how I would do it.
So, Andy wasn't even willing to take the chance that my family wouldn't ask him about it. So, he just comes in and he goes, "Hey, dad, how about you ask John how that match went?"
Did he start firing off some push-ups in front of Doug too? You see those
Dude, he
push-ups?
was doing push-ups at the fucking end of the match, like, I literally was about to pass away out there. Fucking Andy's, like, ripping, like,
Dude,
25.
let's go.
Bro, I have to throw it out there, though, just so the listeners don't think that I'm just a complete loser. I did win the next day.
So you guys played again.
We played again. I was well rested. I had a full night of sleep in me. I
A
had
full
not
3
eaten
glizzies
about
before the
3
match.
pounds. Yeah, I hadn't eaten 3 pounds of food. It was, like, a little cooler out. It was, like, a 10 AM, court time. Still was tough, but I ended up being able to impose my will on him, which was so nice. But then and here's where you can't empathize with me. Big brother problems is we're expected to be better.
Yeah.
We just are. So nobody gives a shit that I won. Like like
I care.
if you
I
had
care.
seen the match, if you had seen the match I had put forth the day prior, like you would be feeling so bad for me. You'd be like, this guy needs
This
this.
is a broken man.
Yeah.
No, dude, I've been there. I've been there so many times. Like my brother has beaten my ass in most everything we did together for a long time. So it's the good thing is about your situation is you got it back because where it can get really dicey is if you start as a younger brother start stringing together a couple wins in a row, it starts to look like the point of no return at some
I know.
times, and then it starts to get kind of sad. It's not a good thing.
No, I can't let it to get sad. That Saturday late afternoon tennis match was sad.
Another move he could have done. It totally, brings me back. Maybe what I would have done in that situation is offered my brother some of my water. You know, hey man, looks like you need it. Uh, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I think we should talk marathon I mean, you're literally running it in what, 4, 5 days?
Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. Yeah, 4 days.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the week has arrived. Feeling good. I've got the fit picked out, and really, I was I had an interesting encounter in the cold plunge. The other week, I met somebody who's run grandmas before, and she was telling me she's running the half this weekend, and I was saying, any tips for a newbie? And she said something that kind of backfooted me a little bit. She goes, "Don't do anything new," which is good
Oh,
advice because you don't know, what and I think she was mostly referring to like if you didn't train with in race fuel, don't take it. If you didn't, you don't mix it up. I totally get it. It makes sense. But the problem with that is I was and kind of still am planning on mixing it up a little bit because
what?
so I have
The one piece of advice you've
I
received,
know.
you're gonna ignore? How much other advice have you received on running this marathon?
Not a lot. But the thing
The
about
only piece of advice
but
you've
John, here's the
received?
thing. I have to ignore it. The primary switch I'm making is I'm planning on running it in this knee brace that I have because of the knee issue I'm having. And
Okay.
so that feels kind of inevitable. I was running on that this weekend and it felt fine enough to move forward with. So it's not completely new. Although
Yeah.
it is one run and it wasn't a long run. So it's like, I think the advice is valid. Where it has tempered me is I had ordered at the advice of one of our friends, Nick. When he ran his marathon, he said, "This saved me." And it was like these salt stick electrolyte pills. And so
Oh,
I have like 500 of them, and I guess I'm gonna just
500 pills.
I yes, I don't plan on taking 500, and now I'm kind of planning on taking 0, which sucks because I was in the back of my head, I was like, "I'm just gonna bring some extra stuff, and, like, if it starts going sideways, like, I'm gonna pop some pills and, like, maybe keep some ibuprofen in the bag and, like, things like that," but
I actually, you know why she gave you that advice is she wants you to just fight through it. She doesn't want you to think that you have a crutch. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you have it's easier to fail when you believe that you have a fallback. But if you're like, my fallback is just falling on my face and like not finishing this, you're gonna
yeah.
fight your way forward.
There's that. I think it makes you come in with a stronger mental fortitude, and then additionally, I do think it's, like, on its face good advice because without that advice, I think as I say, like, I'm gonna be doing a couple experimental things, and I'll report back on how badly that burns me, but I would be taking more chances with the, with the race day without that advice. I mean, like, I'd be
Yeah.
popping electrolyte pills, like, the whole time, and
Hey, for what it's worth, Andy keeps inquiring about your marathon.
Mhm.
He ran his
Did
last
he do
year.
the
He
San
did it with
Francisco Marathon?
No, he keeps threatening me with that.
Yeah.
I told him I am not a runner and I will not run. He said that every most people leading up to a marathon have some form of ailment,
Yeah.
and he's like, "That's totally natural." Like, nobody really seems to come into a marathon feeling 100%, and so, like, with your knee brace and all of that, like, I think that's almost like a rite of passage, like, that's par for the course here.
Yeah, and I think too I honestly, the way I see this going is I might, if it does start to like annoy me, because it's also has like a very good chance of raining for a good, like the majority of the race. I actually saw something the other day that it might get canceled because of like potential lightning, which would
Oh my
suck.
gosh.
Don't want to linger on that, out of my control, but it is what it is. But I was thinking to myself, maybe around like, let's say the knee brace is annoying me and like sopping wet at mile 20. I might just, like,
Mhm.
take it off and throw it into the crowd, do, like, a Pat Bev play-in tournament, throw the jersey into the crowd. There's a lucky fan.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right too, and another thing I had heard, and this did not occur in my taper, but somebody said to me, a really common thing with first-time marathon runners and marathon runners in general is these phantom taper injuries. Like, when you start running way less miles in a week, your body just, like, freaks out and, like, thinks it's hurt.
Oh. Oh, wow.
I'd like to believe that this is not psychological because it's I'm not walking downstairs at in a very well right now. And so
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's psychological, but it is something, as to your and Andy's point, it's not uncommon.
Dude, I remember after I ran my 5K, which is nowhere near I mean, you think 5K and you're like, "That's a snooze fest," but, like, I remember when I ran that,
Mhm.
I, like, ran it pretty hard, whatever, had probably, like, a 7-minute
That's
pace,
damn good.
and then that's when I made the decision. Well, I mean, it's not that long, though, like, you can kinda run pretty
Yeah,
hard
for sure,
for,
for
like,
sure.
whatever it is, 3 miles, but then I decided I was gonna be a runner,
Mhm.
and the next day I literally get out and it's like a Saturday, it's gorgeous. I tell Lindy, I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna go for a run. I'm gonna go run to the Golden Gate and
Oh,
touch it and
yeah.
come back." Bro, I ran out to the Golden Gate and there's this one area under, not quite at the bridge, but underneath it where you can put your hands as like your I did it. Like I touched the Golden Gate. Not even a quarter of a mile the way back. I just get flare ups in my shins. Like I can't even move without just like limping and hobbling. And I just like hobble all the way home. And then for the next week, like you mentioned stairs, dude, I could not go down any
Yeah.
degree of like grading or stairs. And I had to get a haircut, which is I mean, San Francisco, it's top of the hill.
Was this just out of curiosity, was this the haircut that Lindy burned you on? The clean cut? I was gonna
No,
say,
thank
what a
God it wasn't.
roller coaster week. You impress her by becoming a runner and proving yourself, and then she just
That did
burns you
not
on the
impress her at all. I declared I was gonna be a runner, and then I came home injured, all huffy puffy, and I was like, "I'm never running again.
Yeah.
I hate it."
Yeah, dude, I mean, that's the other thing, like, with the marathon, it's, I mean, to move away from just the prep and kinda my plan for it, it is exciting to have it be this close because the thing I think I'll really like while I'm running it is every training run and every run you do, every step you take is a step closer to being done with that run. So that feels good. But this is like the
Yeah.
culmination of all of it. Like every step towards that finish line is like one step towards never having to run 26.2 miles again. So like
Yeah.
I'm going to be excited about that. And I have a lot of family in Duluth. You know, we've got a pretty nice group of people up there too. So excited to celebrate. I mean, as evidenced by not drinking on the pod today, limited my intake these last few weeks. And so excited to, not feel guilty about enjoying myself. And yeah, it's exciting.
Are you gonna be listening to music, podcasts, or are you gonna be, like, running it
That's a
clean?
good
Nothing.
question. I when I did my 20 miles, I listened to podcasts the whole time, and that was like good because I could kind of zone out and like you look up and you're 3 miles further than you were. So you can kind of lock in on that versus music. I feel like I know all the songs I'm listening to, so I know they're 3 minutes or 4 minutes long, and I'm like, "Where the hell
Yeah.
is that half mile announcement?" Like, so I think I'll probably go with pods until I get to the more densely, like mile 18 is when you get into downtown Duluth, and so I think at that point, 1, my AirPods will probably be dead, but 2, I'll probably just run it clean the rest of the way and try and, like, gain some energy from the crowd.
I know when I was there for the Chicago Marathon, they were playing, like they had these massive speakers that were, like, blasting music. Like, I wonder if Grandma's is gonna do that on the home
I
stretch,
yeah,
or something like that in nature.
I heard, they change it each year, but this year, I know the last half mile stretch in Canal Park, they're only playing Tyga.
Well, the one in Chicago was playing Creed, so, I mean, I
Really?
wouldn't put it past
Oh,
him.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was great. It was the, "Take Me Higher" song by Creed, which is epic. I started listening to that after hearing it at the Chicago Marathon.
And you were listening to that on YouTube?
It I dude, yes. I
Yeah.
finally
Okay,
re-downloaded my
nice.
music app. I took
So,
enough flack for that.
another
Yeah.
funny follow-up from John, for those of you who heard last week, John confessed to not having a music app on his phone for the last month. We got a text shortly after that episode came out from his younger brother Andy, who he shares a family account on Tidal with, and he goes, "That reminded me that I forgot to charge you for the last couple months of Tidal." So he like,
It wasn't couple I was 14 months delinquent.
yeah, and so John just got for outing himself on the lack of music app, he got hit with a nice fat bill from his
A
younger brother.
sizable
Yeah,
Venmo. Yeah,
so
brutal.
it's tough, but to tie a bow on it, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great. It's I just really, I mean, as I said, there's some question as to whether or not it'll be sanctioned, and because it's like a volunteer safety thing and runner safety thing if there's a lot of lightning.
Mhm.
So I mean, I hope to God it's on because it's gonna be so much harder to do it if it's not
Are
in
you
the
gonna be
marathon.
taping your nips?
For sure, for sure. I actually found this product called Nip Guard, which I didn't buy
Ooh.
because I was listening to the cold plunge lady. I'm sticking to what I know, which is hockey tape on my nipples. And so I'm doing that. Also, the tagline for Nip Guard was awesome. I was very close to buying it. It says that their tagline on it is "Only feel the good pain." Kind of awesome. So yeah, it's coming up. I'm sure when we get back together, I'll have an update for you. Hopefully, it is a story of great success. One other thing I wanted to touch on, I do have a newfound simple pleasure.
Oh, I wanna hear it. What do you
I
got?
was leaving Cub the other day, and I have my groceries in one hand, and in my other hand, I did not want this to be bagged. It was a full watermelon that I had bought, and my simple pleasure was tucking that watermelon into my arm. I wish my computer camera was working so you could see this right now, but you'll be able to picture it as will the listeners. I tucked it into my arms like a football, like the 3 point football hold on the watermelon. And when I was
Yeah.
walking out to my car, I was feeling shifty. I was feeling dangerous. I was looking at people and thinking to myself, if we were on turf, nobody's putting me down right now. I felt very, very strong and satisfied to have the watermelon tucked away like that. And so, for those of you who are grocery shopping, considering getting some in season watermelon, which has just been awesome these last few weeks, highly recommend. Tuck it in your arms like it's a football, and maybe throw out a couple juke moves. You'll feel awesome. It's good for the vibes. I had loved it. It was great.
That sounds
Yeah,
awesome. Aren't they kinda slippery though? Like, don't you run a higher risk of losing that, or is it so tight
yeah.
tucked under there that you're
I
able
think
to
a number of
shepherd it to your
people
car safely?
could have trouble corralling it, but I had that thing in there so tight. I mean, ball security is job security, and so I wasn't letting that thing go anywhere. And I think, they didn't grease it, so, like, it wasn't, like, that slippery.
That's true. Usually, I don't know why I was thinking like a greased up watermelon, but
There's yeah,
it happens.
it was maybe a touch damp, but it was not too slippery. But, yeah, that was a simple pleasure for me.
Last thing, we had kind of a funny interaction at our dinner. So this was the day before Father's Day, Saturday, and we're going out to celebrate my little sister Rosie graduating from college. And her celebration dinner was off to a hot start. We had done cocktails before, and then we were just driving to like this really nice venue to go eat. But we sit down, and then it just gets kind of awkward. Like we just had like really bad vibes from the wait staff.
Oh,
Like first this woman comes up. I didn't even really hear her, but she's all of a sudden like, I'm switching with another server, and that server is gonna serve you.
like, didn't take drinks or anything?
No, nothing, and, like, no real explanation or anything, and we're like, "Alright, like, whatever." And then
Cool,
this
yeah.
new guy comes over, and he's, like, profusely sweating, and he just goes, "Alright, we're gonna do this the right way."
Oh, what's the wrong way? What is this guy's deal?
It begs the question, I'm kinda like, "How how is this your lead-in?" You know, it wasn't like, "Hi, my name is James, I'm gonna be serving you tonight, can I start you off with some waters?" I mean, look, I'm not even a server, and I just nailed
Both of
that,
those
like
2 things suggest or could make you think they've pegged you as a problem table. They
Yeah.
they do a good cop, bad cop. They tell you you're doing it the right way. I mean, it's funny, I don't mean to derail this, be quick. When I joined this new gym, we're going through the gym rules, and this guy goes, "Here's the number 1 rule. Don't be a menace." And I was laughing to myself because I was like, that's a good rule. I can do that rule. But is that something like for that to become a rule, there has to be enough menaces going around for that to
For that to become the number 1 rule. Like, what are you doing as a menace in the gym?
I don't I mean, I guess I asked, but he was like, when you're being a menace," and I was like, "Okay, this is a sore spot. I'm just moving on." But anyway, so they're pegging you as kind of potentially a problem table.
Problem table, but this guy should have been pegged as a problem waiter because, dude, I mean, I don't know. I don't even go out to dinner that much anymore, but, like, there's a certain cadence to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, the waiter comes over, gets the drinks, comes back over, gets the and by drinks, I mean, like, pours waters, etcetera. Then comes back over, gets your drink order. Then you maybe put appetizers in. Then they come back, check on, like, what you want for mains. You order while your mains are cooking. They come back, they get wine or, you know, cocktails, whatever else, a second round before your entree comes out, and then they deliver the entree. That is the general cadence of a dinner. This guy basically like took everything one shot and then just like disappeared.
Oh, no.
Basically, like he's nowhere to be found. Like we can't even find this guy. You know, we're sipping our drinks and whatever, and then all of a sudden, like my mom and dad split a salad, and it just gets delivered like egregiously early, like
Hmm.
immediately after receiving their drinks, and then like no food probably after that for the next hour 15.
What?
Like truly like so much time passed. Like my siblings and I, we were splitting a bottle of wine. Dude, like, we finished this, and then, like, we cannot find our server.
Yeah,
Like, he
that
is
is
nowhere to be
madness,
found.
dude.
Both my parents are out of their drinks. We're trying to order more drinks. Like, we're literally trying to give the restaurant our money, and, like, we can't find him. I had to flag down a busboy. Then we had all ordered, like, I mean, it's a celebration dinner, so the orders were steak, roasted chicken, and lobster.
Yeah, hell yeah. That sounds awesome.
So, once we flagged the busboy to go get us our wine, which he brings out finally, and that's when our waiter finally came out. He's like, "Guillermo's coming out with your wine." And then this guy comes out and, like, I got to do the whole thing where I, like, taste tested the wine, like, made sure it wasn't corked or anything. It was a twist off, so, like, we were gonna be okay. But, then he just disappears again, and then all of a sudden, like, just the steak comes out. And
Oh,
we're, like,
no.
looking around, and my brother who ordered the chicken and my sister who ordered the lobster, nowhere to be found. No comment at all from, I'm just calling him Guillermo at this point. No comment from Guillermo. And
How did he drop it on your table? Was it kinda like a toss? Like, did he just
yes,
bail?
exactly how you think. Like, dude, this guy was like he was trying to set like a record for like minutes not spent at a table. Like,
Dude, I think he took something out of my playbook when I was working at, a bar in Madison, is if you're profusely sweating around the customers, you just go into the either, like, tap room or whatever, the freezer room, and sit in there until you're not profusely sweating. I think that could have been his issue.
he was kind of like me when I was out playing my 3 p.m. court time with my brother. Anyways, like, I'm pretty much finishing my steak, and, like, the rest of the table is finishing the steak, and then finally, Rosie's lobster comes out, like, probably 25 minutes after the steak. Like, I'm done with my steak. I gave Andy some, like, he's a growing boy. Guy needs to eat, so he's starving. I'm, like, trying to sustain my baby brother. Rosie gets her lobster overcooked. You
God,
can't even
dude.
get the meat out of there, and then, dude, cherry on top, finally, like, this Guillermo guy comes out sprinting from the kitchen, and he's like, "Yeah, that chicken just takes such a long time, like, they're working on it, they're working on it."
Oh, no.
Dude, there was, like, 5 guys that, like, sprinted around this, corner where the kitchen was, like, carrying Andy's plated chicken. They set it down in front of
It's
him.
freezing
Dude,
cold,
he
isn't it?
he cuts into it, just fucking pink in the middle.
No way.
He had started eating, and he was like, it was, like, really
No,
chewy, and he
dude.
was like, "Oh, he kinda whispered to me at first, and he's like, 'Dude, I think my chicken's undercooked.'"
How the fuck is that possible? They were in there monkeying around for 2 hours and they undercook it?
We received our food 2 hours after we
Oh my
ordered it. It
god.
comes out, it's just pink.
Dude, that is terrible. That is a screw up in a major way. I mean, really at every level of that dinner.
Yeah, everything. So we went 1 for 6. We had 6 different orders, and we had one
Who
that was a
was who
hit,
was
which
the
was my
lucky
sister's,
winner?
Madison.
What did she
Her
order?
steak
It was
her
good?
steak was sublime. We do have to bring up our fan of the week. This has been brought back to the fold, and it is actually somebody who's been mentioned quite a bit on this podcast.
Mhm.
It is my baby brother, Andy. So Andy is an exceptionally good gift giver. He's super thoughtful, and he wanted to give not only me but also Charlie like a little bit of like a, hey, nice job like doing a podcast type gift. And so he knows we both like the NBA. One of the stars in the NBA for the New Orleans Pelicans is CJ McCollum.
Mhm.
And CJ is extremely passionate about wine, so much so that he went and bought his own vineyards out in Oregon, and he is starting his own wine label. Very few cases produced. I think there was like 90 cases on his most recent production, which is very, very, very small from like a winemaker
Yeah.
standpoint. So pretty rare, pretty niche. And Andy bought Charlie and I a bottle for us to taste, and I think we're potentially going to do it in our first ever in-person podcast. It's a Chardonnay
Oh,
made by CJ McCollum. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. We love the NBA. This is a very nice gesture from a fan.
yeah.
So,
Hell yeah,
Andy,
Andy.
you definitely deserve fan of the week. You also wasted my ass in tennis. Like, you deserve all the accolades.
I mean, what can't this guy do? He's a marathon runner. He looks like Mark Wahlberg. He's a thoughtful gift giver. I mean, people in Chicago wake up. Single women in Chicago, go seek out this man. Does he have any flaw other than he likes to do a couple push-ups when he's winning? I mean, like, what a guy. But appreciate it, Andy. Excited to try the bottle. Certainly well deserved. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
And for any other listeners out there that want Charlie and I to try a wine, we'll oblige.
Yeah.
Send it our way.
Yeah, yeah, we'd be more than happy. Unfortunately, we got to cut it a little short today, and we always appreciate everybody listening. We can be found on Spotify. Give us a subscribe. Give us a rating. Any sort of fan interaction, if that's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, please reach out to us. We love interacting and hearing feedback, particularly if that interaction is you giving us a bottle of wine. That's always a good one. Shout out Andy again. And yeah, no, it's been, as always, it's a pleasure. And so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, much love, everybody. I'm sorry to cut it short this week. This is my bad, but I am boarding a flight to the homeland,
Yeah.
Minnesota, and I have cut my packing egregiously short. I think I've given myself about 5 minutes to pack for what is going to be a 2-week trip. So wish me luck. I really hope I don't forget anything. Yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, please, drop us a like, drop us comments on social. We love it. We want to interact with you. If you have anything you want us to discuss on future pods, let us know. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Shout out to CJ McCollum, too. I'm excited to get into the bottle.
Peace.